The village was burning under the hot sun, smoke rose from broken houses, and the air smelled of ash and fear. Blue-skinned aliens ran through the ruins, but most had already fallen. Only a few survivors hid in the shadows, trembling. In the center of the village, a woman fell to her knees, holding the hand of her little girl. Her skin was a bright shade of blue, her hair like silver white, her clothes were torn, her knees scraped from the rough stones. The child beside her was no more than 5 years old, her big eyes shining with tears. Both of them shook with fear as soldiers in dark armor surrounded them. The soldiers carried rifles that hummed with energy, their faces hard and merciless. One soldier spoke with a cold voice. "The child is valuable. Take her," he said. The alien mother cried out, her voice breaking. "She is only 5. She is innocent. Take me instead." Her hands reached forward as if her words could shield the girl. The soldiers laughed, cruel and empty. "To us, you are nothing," one sneered. "But this child may be useful for our research." The little girl clung tighter to her mother's arm, whispering, "Mama, don't let them take me." The mother pulled her close, pressing her head against her chest. Her heart beat like a drum, fast and desperate. She had already lost her husband to these humans. Now they wanted to take her daughter too. Her whole body trembled, but her eyes burned with defiance. The commander stepped forward, tall and cold as stone. He reached for the child, his armored hand closing in. The mother screamed again. "Take me. I beg you. Leave her." Her voice was so full of pain that even the wind seemed to pause. But the soldiers had no mercy. They pulled the little girl from her mother's arms. The child cried, her small hands reaching back. "Mama, Mama," she sobbed. The mother's nails scraped against the dirt as she tried to hold Dion. But the strength of the soldier was too much. In that terrible moment, a figure moved from the shadows, a human soldier, but different from the others. His armor was dented, his helmet under his arm. His eyes were sharp, but not cruel. He had seen too much war, too much death. And now, as he watched the mother's plea, something inside him broke. He remembered the screams of his own daughter long ago. She had been lost when his home was attacked. Her face haunted him every night. And now, in this alien child, he saw her again. In this alien mother's eyes, he saw the same pain his wife had carried. It was a mirror of his own past, and he could not stand by any longer. He stepped forward, his boots heavy on the ground. "Enough," he said, his voice steady but loud. The other soldiers froze, surprised. This was one of their own, but his tone was defiant. The commander narrowed his eyes. "What are you doing, soldier?" The human's hand went to his weapon, not to threaten the mother, but to stand against his brothers in arms. "I will not let you take her," he said, his voice carried across the burning square. The alien mother looked up in shock, her tears still fresh on her face, her lips parted in disbelief. The commander stepped closer, his face hard as iron. "You dare betray us. For them," he growled. "They are nothing but animals, experiments, tools." But the human soldier stood firm. "Not anymore," he answered. "They are not animals. They are a mother and child." The silence grew heavy. The soldiers tightened their grip on their rifles. The alien mother pulled her child close again, her eyes locked on the human soldier. Was this hope, or just another cruel trick? Her heart raced. She could not believe a human might protect them. The commander raised his hand. "Then you are a traitor," he said coldly. "Stand down or die where you stand." The human's grip on his weapon tightened. He looked once at the mother, then at the child, and in that single heartbeat, he made his choice. The mother gasped, holding her child. The soldiers raised their weapons, ready to fire. The commander's glare cut through the smoke, and the human soldier stepped forward, lifting his weapon, but no one knew who he would aim at. Not yet, not until the next breath. The square was silent except for the crackle of burning ruins. The little girl hid her face in her mother's chest. The mother's heart begged for a miracle. The human's eyes burned with decision, and in that silence, destiny waited. The human soldier stood with his weapon raised. The fire cracked behind him, and the screams of the dying village echoed through the ruins. The commander's eyes were locked on him, sharp and cold like blades. Around them, soldiers tightened their grips, unsure if they should attack or wait. The alien mother clutched her daughter close, her body shaking, her lips whispering a silent prayer. The commander spoke first, his voice filled with anger. "You dare betray us for these creatures," he said. "They are nothing. Their lives mean less than dust." But the human soldier did not lower his weapon. His voice was steady, stronger than it had ever been. "They are not nothing," he answered. "They are everything right now." The silence was heavy, every soldier waiting for the first move. The alien child peeked out from her mother's arms, her big eyes wet with tears. She looked at the human soldier, not with fear, but with a small spark of hope. That spark lit something inside him, something he thought he had lost long ago. The memory of his own daughter came rushing back, her laugh, her smile, her cry when she was scared, and he knew deep inside that he could not fail this child too. The commander snarled, his patience gone. "Seize him," he ordered, his hand slicing through the air. Two soldiers stepped forward, rifles raised. The human soldier moved like lightning, his training shone. RP and precise, he struck the first soldier across the face with the butt of his rifle. The man fell to the dirt with a groan, armor clattering. The second soldier fired, but the shot missed as the human rolled to the side. Dust flew and the mother gasped as the energy bolt scorched the ground beside her. The commander shouted, "Traitor, you will die with them." But the human soldier fired back, his rifle glowing with blue energy. One soldier fell, then another, chaos spreading across the square. The alien mother held her child tighter, shielding her eyes. She could not believe what she saw, a human fighting against his own kind. The soldier shouted, his voice cutting through the chaos. "Run now." The mother hesitated, her heart torn between fear and trust, but she saw the fire in his eyes, and she believed him. She grabbed her daughter's hand, pulling her toward the shadows of a broken wall. The child stumbled, but the mother carried her, their small figures darting into the smoke. The human soldier fought like a storm behind them, every strike filled with desperation. He was outnumbered, but his will was unshakable. Blasts of light tore through the ruins. Shouts echoed as soldiers tried to corner him, but he moved with skill, dodging, striking, always keeping himself between danger and the fleeing mother. His body burned with pain, his breath came in ragged bursts, but he did not stop. Not for a single moment, because he had made his choice, and there was no turning back. The mother reached the edge of the village, her chest heaving. She looked back, her silver hair wild, her face streaked with tears. She saw the human soldier surrounded, yet still fighting. Her lips trembled, wanting to call out, but her voice would not come. She wanted to thank him, to beg him to follow. But fear held her silent. The commander's voice roared through the smoke. "Kill him, Lee. Have no trace of this traitor." The mother pulled her daughter into the hills beyond the ruins, her legs weak but moving. Every step felt like a knife in her heart, leaving the soldier behind, but she knew he had given them this chance. She could not waste it. Behind them, the battle raged on. The soldier's rifle blazed until its energy cell ran dry. Then he drew his blade, metal against metal, sparks flying. His enemies pressed harder, and still he did not fall. Blood ran down his arm, his armor cracked, his breath came harsh and heavy. But inside, he felt something he had not felt in years. Purpose. The mother and child climbed higher, the ruins fading behind them. The girl whispered, her small voice breaking. "Mama, what about him?" The mother's throat ached, her tears spilling down her cheeks. He gave us life," she said softly. "We must live for him now." The child buried her face against her mother's shoulder, but she did not cry anymore. Somehow she felt safer, even in the dark wilderness, because one human had stood against many, one human had chosen them. The night fell as they reached the cliffs. Stars lit the sky above, cold and silent. The mother set her daughter down, wrapping her arms around her. She looked back at the burning village one last time, her heart a storm of sorrow and gratitude. She did not know if the human lived or died, but she knew his choice had changed everything. And in the shadows, limping and bleeding, the human soldier emerged from the ruins. He had survived, barely, his body broken, but his spirit unbroken. He looked to the hills where the mother and child had gone, and he began to follow, step by step, into the darkness. Because his choice was not only to protect them, it was to walk with them, no matter the cost. The night was cold, and the ruins were left behind. The alien mother carried her daughter through the rocky hills, her arms aching, her breath heavy. The little girl clung to her neck, silent now, her wide eyes staring at the star. Above, each star looked sharp and cold, like 1,000 watching eyes. The mother's feet bled on the jagged stones, but she did not stop. She could not stop, because stopping meant death. Behind them, far away, the fires of the village still burned. The smoke rose into the night sky like a black tower. Every now and then the mother thought she heard shouts, or the echo of gunfire. Each sound made her heart freeze, but she pushed on. Her only thought was to keep her daughter safe. But in her mind, one question would not leave. What had happened to the human soldier? Then, from the shadows he appeared. His armor was broken, his body bruised, blood dripping from his arm. But his eyes still burned with the same fire. The mother gasped when she saw him, thinking he was a ghost. But he gave a small nod, his steps slow yet steady. He had survived, and he had come for them. The little girl lifted her head, her lips trembling. "You came," she whispered, her small voice full of wonder. The soldier gave a tired smile. "I told you, I would not let them take you," he said. His words were simple, but they gave her strength. The mother could only bow her head in silence, gratitude too heavy for words. Together, they moved through the wasteland. The land stretched out in endless scars, burnt soil, broken towers, rivers of ash. Everywhere was proof of war, endless and merciless. The child whimpered softly, asking for water. The mother's heart broke, for she had none to give. The soldier searched with sharp eyes. He found a broken pipe dripping with filthy rainwater. He cleaned it as best as he could, giving the girl a sip. She drank greedily, her lips wet, her small face brighter for a moment. The mother watched, her chest heavy with emotion. This man who should have been her enemy was now her daughter's only hope. But danger was never far. Above them, a red light swept across the hills. The soldier froze, pulling them down into the shadows. It was a drone, humming in the night like a giant metal insect. Its glowing eyes scanned the rocks, searching for heat. The mother held her breath, holding her child close. The little girl trembled, her small hand clutching her mother's sleeve. The drone passed, its light crawling across the stones. For a moment it stopped, and the mother thought all was lost. But then it turned away, vanishing into the smoke. The soldier waited until the hum was gone. Then he whispered, "They are hunting us." His voice was low, grim. "They will not stop until we are caught." The mother asked, her voice weak, "Why do you do this? Why risk your life for us?" The soldier paused, his eyes dark with memory. "Because I lost my family once," he said. "I could not save them, but maybe I can save you." The words were heavy, like stones. The mother understood, her heart twisting with sorrow. Hours passed as they moved deeper into the wasteland. The wind howled like a dying creature. The girl grew weaker, her legs unable to walk. The soldier carried her when the mother's arms failed. Each step cost him pain, but he never complained. The mother watched him, wondering if fate had sent him to them, or if he was simply a man too broken to let another child die. Then, in the distance, a howl cut through the night. Not human, not machine, but something else. The soldier raised his rifle, eyes sharp. The mother pulled her daughter close, fear rising in her chest. From the shadows came shapes crawling low to the ground, creatures of the wasteland, twisted by war and hunger. Their eyes glowed faintly, their teeth long and sharp. The soldier fired a warning shot, blue light tearing through the dark. The creatures hissed but did not flee. They were starving, desperate. One leapt forward, claws outstretched. The soldier struck it down with the butt of his rifle. Another came from the side, and the mother screamed, but the soldier turned, blade flashing. Blood sprayed across the stones, and the creature fell. The fight was short, but brutal. The creatures scattered at last, their cries echoing into the night. The soldier stood breathing hard, his blade dripping red. The mother stared at him, shaken but filled with awe. He was only one man, yet he stood against all threats, not for himself, but for them. The little girl touched his arm gently. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice soft as wind. The soldier looked down at her, and for a moment, he felt peace, as if the ghosts of his past had gone silent. But he knew the peace would not last. The enemy still hunted them, and their journey had only begun. As dawn rose, painting the wasteland in pale light, the three of them stood together on the ridge. Behind them was ruin, before them was danger, yet together they had hope. The flight had begun, and there was no turning back. The sun rose pale and cold over the wasteland. The light revealed endless scars of war, craters, broken towers, rivers of ash. The alien mother walked with her daughter close at her side. The little girl's small hand clutched her mother's fingers, too afraid to let go. Beside them, the human soldier limped, but his eyes stayed sharp, always watching the horizon. They had survived the night, but danger had not ended. High above, drones circled, their red eyes glowing against the sky. On the ground, armored soldiers spread out in squads, searching every hill and shadow. The hunt had begun, and the hunters would not rest until their prey was caught. The soldier knew it, the mother knew it, even the little girl felt it in her bones. Each step was heavy, every sound made them freeze, even the wind felt like it carried. Enemies closer. The soldier kept his weapon ready, though its energy was almost gone. His blade hung at his side, stained from the night before. He did not show his pain, but each movement pulled at his wounds. Still, he pressed forward, because stopping meant death. The mother whispered as they climbed the rocks. "How long can we run like this?" The soldier looked ahead, his voice flat but certain. "As long as it takes." He did not tell her the truth, that he doubted they could last another day without shelter, but he would not let despair take her hope. The little girl stumbled, her knees scraped against the stone. She whimpered, but she did not cry. Her mother lifted her quickly, whispering comfort. The soldier glanced back, seeing her courage. She was small, but she carried a strength that reminded him of his own lost child, and it gave him reason to keep moving. A sudden sound cut through the wind, the whir of engines, the hum of machines. The soldier pushed them flat against the rocks. A drone descended, its red eye sweeping the ground like firelight. The soldier pulled a broken shard of metal from the dirt. He hurled it far into the distance. The drone's eye followed the sound, scanning. The small trick was enough. The machine turned and drifted away. The mother looked at him with silent gratitude. He gave only a nod as if such acts were nothing. But the danger grew closer. From the east, armored boots pounded against stone, soldiers with rifles, their voices sharp and cruel. "They can't be far," one shouted. "They're wounded, they'll slow down," another said. The mother held her daughter close, her heart thundering. The soldier motioned for silence, his hands steady in the air. They crept along the rocks, moving like shadows. Every sound of boots drew nearer, every voice sharper. The soldier's mind raced. He had fought many battles, but this was different. He was not fighting for victory, he was fighting for two lives that had no place in his war. And that made every choice heavier. A soldier's light swept across the stones, nearly catching them. The human pulled the mother and child down into a hollow. They crouched in silence, hearts pounding. The little girl buried her face against her mother's chest. The soldier kept his blade ready, his body tense. The hunters passed only a few feet away, their armor clanking, their rifles glowing. One of them paused, frowning. But then he moved on, and the danger slipped past like a shadow. The mother whispered, her voice trembling. "They will find us soon," the soldier answered, his eyes fixed ahead. "Then we will make them regret it." There was no bravado in his tone, only grim resolve. The mother could not understand how he kept his courage, but she felt safer with him than she ever had before. They moved again, crossing a dry riverbed filled with bones of old machines. The little girl tripped on a twisted beam. The sound was sharp, echoing through the silence. At once, shouts rang out behind them. "They're here! I heard something!" The soldier cursed under his breath, grabbing the mother's arm. "Run!" he commanded, his voice like thunder. They sprinted through the wasteland, stones cutting their feet, wind burning their faces. The shouts grew louder, the sound of rifles charging behind them. The mother stumbled but kept moving, her daughter clinging to her neck. The soldier stayed behind them, firing a few desperate shots to slow the pursuit. Energy bolts split the air, exploding against stone, sending dust into the sky. The chase was merciless. The hunt had truly begun. At last they reached the ruins of an old tower. The soldier led them inside, broken walls shielding them from sight. He pressed his back against the stone, listening. The mother sank to the ground, her arms wrapped around her child. Her breath shook, her whole body trembling. The girl she whispered, "Mama, will they catch us?" The mother could not answer, her throat too tight. The soldier finally spoke, his voice low. "They will not catch you, not while I still breathe." He looked out at the wasteland, his jaw set. "They will hunt us, yes, but hunters can bleed." The mother stared at him, half in fear, half in awe. She did not know if he was a savior or a doomed man, but she knew this. He had chosen them, and he would not stop fighting. Outside, the boots of the hunters grew louder, their voices carried in the wind, cruel and certain. The soldier gripped his blade tighter, his eyes hard as steel. The mother held her daughter, whispering a soft lullaby to hide the fear in her voice. The little girl closed her eyes, trusting the strange soldier who stood between her and death. The hunt was not over, it had only just begun. The ruins gave them shelter for only a short time. The soldiers' voices grew louder, closer, like wolves circling prey. The human soldier knew they could not stay, but escape was growing impossible. His body ached with wounds, his weapon almost drained, his strength stretched thin. The mother clung to her daughter, whispering prayers, while the little girl trembled in silence. Then came the inevitable. A flare lit the sky, red and merciless, bathing the ruins in a cruel glow. From every side, soldiers closed in, armored, armed, their eyes burning with cold command. The human raised his rifle, but it coughed weakly, its charge gone. Still, he stepped in front of the mother and child, blade drawn, his voice low and steady. "Stay behind me," he said. The mother obeyed, her arms wrapped tight around her daughter's small body. The first soldier rushed in, his weapon raised. Steel clashed with steel as the human struck, the force of impact shaking the broken wall. For a moment he fought like a storm, blade flashing, strikes quick and desperate. 2 soldiers fell, their armor sparking, but more came. The commander himself peed through the smoke, his face grim with victory. "Enough," he barked. "You cannot fight the world for them." The human roared, swinging again, but a blast from behind caught him, slamming into his back. He dropped to one knee, his blade slipping from his hand. The mother cried out, "No!" her voice breaking. The child screamed, but her small cry was lost in the thunder of boots. The soldiers swarmed, striking him down. Even as blood filled his mouth, the human tried to rise. His eyes never left the mother and child. But finally, they pinned him, chains clamped around his arms. The commander turned to the mother, his voice cold. "Nowhere left to run," he said. His soldiers tore her away from the wall, prying the girl from her arms. The child screamed louder, fighting with tiny fists. "Don't take me, Mama." The mother's voice cracked as she begged. "Please, take me instead, not her, please." Her cries fell on deaf ears. The soldiers dragged them through the ruins, their captors' boots echoing like drums of doom. Hours later, they were thrown into a facility deep beneath the earth. Metal walls, harsh lights, the smell of oil and blood filled the air. The mother held her daughter in the corner of a cell, her arms wrapped around her, her body trembling with fear and rage. The little girl sobbed softly, her tears soaking her mother's shoulder. Across the hall, the human sat chained, bruised, broken, yet unbowed. He lifted his head slowly, his eyes meeting the mother's. She saw pain there, but also fire. A fire that told her this was not the end. Soldiers passed outside the bars, their voices harsh and careless. "They'll dissect the child tomorrow," one said. "Command wants answers. Her kind has something valuable," another replied. The mother pressed her daughter closer, covering her ears, her tears falling silently. The human clenched his fists against the chains. Rah! G burning through his veins, he pulled, metal cutting into his skin, but the bonds did not break. Still, he whispered to himself, over and over, "I will not let them take her." The commander entered the hall, his footsteps sharp against the steel floor. He stopped at the mother's cell, his eyes cold. "You should be honored," he said. "Your child will serve a greater purpose." The mother spat at his feet, her voice shaking with fury. "You are monsters," she hissed. The commander only smirked. "Perhaps, but monsters rule the world," he answered. He turned to leave, but the human's voice cut through the silence. "You are wrong," the soldier said, his voice steady despite his wounds. The commander glanced at him with disdain. "You should be dead already," he replied. "Yet here you are, chained like a dog." The human smiled faintly through blood. "Dogs bite hardest when you least expect." The commander ignored him and left, the heavy door slamming shut. The hall grew silent, save for the hum of lights and the soft sobs of the child. The mother looked across the hall, her eyes filled with despair. "Can you save us?" she whispered to the soldier. He lifted his head, his chains rattling. "Yes," he said, though his voice was quiet. "I don't know how yet, but I will." The night stretched long and merciless in the prison. The mother hummed softly to calm her child. The soldier sat in silence, every breath heavy, every thought sharp as a blade. He studied the guards, their routines, the locks on the cells. His body was broken, but his mind was alive. He counted every second, waiting for the moment to strike. The little girl fell asleep at last, her tiny hand clutching her mother's sleeve. The mother kissed her forehead, tears still sliding down her cheeks. Then she looked again at the human soldier, and for the first time she whispered words she had not dared before. "Thank you," she said softly. "Even here, I feel safer with you near." The soldier gave her a tired nod. Her gratitude was not needed, but it gave him strength. Outside the walls, HFY Ness roared as more troops arrived. The facility was full of power, full of death. But deep inside, in that dark cell, 3 lives waited. A mother, her daughter, and a broken soldier who refused to surrender. The world believed they were captured, that their fate was sealed, but the soldier's fire had not gone out, and when the moment came, he would burn the walls down to save them. The prison walls shook with the sound of engines above. Heavy doors clanged. Soldiers moved in formation, their boots striking like hammers. Inside the dark cell, the mother held her daughter close, her heart racing. The child clung to her, whispering in a trembling voice, "Mama, will they hurt me tomorrow?" The mother pressed her lips to her child's hair, tears burning her eyes. No, my star, I will not let them, she whispered. Though fear filled her soul, across the hall, the human soldier sat in chains, his body broken, his face bruised, his breath ragged. But his eyes were alive, sharp and burning with determination. He had studied the guards for hours, every step, every key, every moment of weakness. Now he waited for the right time. He could hear the ticking of fate, like a drum in his ears. The cell doors rattled, guards arrived, two stepped into his cell, dragging him to his feet. Command wants to see you suffer before you die, one sneered. The human staggered, but his chains hid strength beneath his weakness. As they dragged him forward, he struck suddenly. His head smashed into one guard's face, bone cracking, blood spraying. The second guard shouted, raising his weapon. But the soldier swung his chains like a whip, wrapping around the man's arm. With one pull, the rifle clattered to the floor. The human seized it, energy flaring in his hands. The corridor exploded with violence. He fired, the blast cutting through armor, the guard falling with a scream. The first guard tried to rise, but the soldier's boot crushed him down. Alarms blared, red lights flashing across steel walls. The human pulled the keys from the fallen guard's belt. He ripped the chains from his arms, blood running from fresh cuts. But freedom surged through him like fire. The mother gasped from her cell. The little girl's eyes widened with hope. The soldier staggered to their bars, his voice urgent. Stand back, he ordered. He unlocked the cell, the door creaking open. The mother rushed out, clutching her child to her chest. You came, she whispered, her voice breaking with relief. I told you, he said, his eyes hard. I would not let them take her. More soldiers stormed into the hall, their rifles glowing. The soldier shoved the mother and child behind him. Stay low, he growled, raising the stolen weapon. The corridor turned into a storm of light and sound. Energy blasts scorched the air. Sparks rained down. He fired back, each shot precise, each step forward relentless. Armor cracked, men fell, the walls shook with fury. The mother held her daughter close in the corner. She had never seen such defiance, one man against many. Every strike he made was for them. Every wound he took meant their survival. She prayed silently, not to the stars, but to this soldier. Because in her eyes, he was no longer an enemy. He was their shield, their savior. At last, the hall fell silent. Bodies sprawled across the steel. Smoke filled the air, the alarm still screaming. The soldier dropped the empty rifle, his breath ragged, his body swayed, blood dripping from his wounds. But he did not fall, not yet. Move, he ordered, his voice weak but firm. They ran through the corridors, the mother carrying her child, the soldier close behind. Doors slammed open, squads poured in. The soldier grabbed a grenade from a fallen belt. He hurled it down the hall, the blast ripping through steel and bodies. The mother screamed as the walls shook, but the soldier pulled them forward. Every step was chaos, but every step was closer to freedom. At last they reached the hangar, wide and filled with engines. Shuttles lined the bay, soldiers swarming around them. The human knew this was their only chance. He turned to the mother, his face pale. Take her, get to that ship, he said, pointing with trembling hands. She shook her head, her tears streaming. Not without you. But he smiled faintly, blood staining his lips. You have to. I can hold them. Before she could answer, the soldiers charged. The human roared, firing stolen weapons, his body shaking with every blast. He moved like a man already dead, fearless, unstoppable. The mother screamed, clutching her daughter, running for the ship. The child cried out, "No, don't leave him." But the soldier shouted back, his voice breaking, "Live, both of you, live." The mother stumbled into the shuttle, her hands shaking. She placed her daughter in a seat, her eyes filled with tears. She turned back one last time. The human was surrounded, fighting like a lion against the jaws of death. His body was failing, yet his will burned brighter than ever. Soldiers swarmed him, blasts tore through his armor. He fell to one knee, still striking, still roaring. The mother's heart shattered. But she knew this was his choice, his gift to them. With trembling hands, she hit the controls. The shuttle roared to life, rising into the sky. Her daughter screamed for the soldier, reaching toward the window. The mother held her tight, her tears falling like rain. Below them, the hangar exploded in fire and chaos, and the human soldier vanished in the storm. The shuttle soared through the clouds, engines roared, smoke and fire rumbled below. Inside, the alien mother clutched her daughter, her heart breaking. Tears streamed down her face as she held the child against her chest. The little girl sobbed, reaching for the window. Her small voice cried, "Bring him, Mama, bring him." But the soldier was gone, his figure lost in the flames. The mother closed her eyes, whispering softly, "He saved us, my star. He gave his life for us." The words were heavy, sharp as knives. She wanted to believe he still lived, But the truth burned in her heart. He had made his choice, and that choice had been them. Hours passed as the shuttle carried them away from the nightmare. It landed in the hills where old tunnels hid the last of the alien rebels. Eyes widened as the survivors stepped forward. Seeing the mother and her child, they asked how she had escaped, who had saved her, and with trembling lips, she spoke of the human soldier. She told them of his betrayal of his own kind, of his courage, his sacrifice, his defiance against an army. And the rebels listened in silence, their faces lit with awe. The little girl clung to her mother's hand. He was not a monster, she whispered. He was good. Her words echoed in the hearts of the rebels, for they had been told humans were only cruel, only destroyers. Yet now, here was proof that one had stood against his own to protect them. Days passed, then weeks. The rebels began to spread the story. Whispers traveled through villages, across wastelands, into hidden camps. The tale of the human soldier who saved an alien child grew like fire. The mother told it again and again, her voice steady even through tears. Each time, the little girl listened, her eyes shining with memory. The story gave the rebels hope, a spark they had not felt in years. The child grew stronger, her laughter returning. Boo! At each night she looked at the stars and whispered, "Thank you," as if the soldier could still hear her. The mother watched her daughter, her heart heavy but full of pride. She knew the soldier had not only saved their lives, he had given them a future. One evening, the rebels gathered in the caves. The mother stood before them, her daughter at her side. She raised her voice, telling the story once more. This time she spoke not with sorrow but with fire. "This man was not of our kind," she said, "but he gave everything for us, for my child, for me, for life itself. If one human can do this, then not all are our enemies." The rebels murmured, their hearts stirred. For the first time, they thought of peace, not only war. Years passed and the little girl grew. She became strong, her silver hair shining, her spirit fierce. She remembered every detail of that night, every word, every cry. The memory of the soldier lived inside her. When she spoke, others listened. When she led, others followed. And always, she carried the lesson he had left behind, that courage could be found in the unlikeliest of places. One night under the stars, the mother sat with her grown daughter. The wind whispered across the hills, carrying the scent of freedom. The daughter asked softly, "Do you think he knew, Mama, that we would live, that we would remember?" The mother smiled sadly, her eyes full of tears. "Yes," she said, "he knew. That is why he stayed behind. He trusted us to live, to carry his story." The daughter looked at the sky, her voice steady. "Then I will never let his story die." And so the legend grew. The human soldier became a name carried in songs, in whispers, in firelit tales. His face was never forgotten, his sacrifice never buried. Children learned of him, rebels drew courage from him, and in time, even humans heard the tale. Some denied it, some feared it, but some believed, and those who believed began to question the war itself. The soldier's act became more than one man's choice. It became a bridge, fragile but real, between two races torn apart by hate, and though the soldier's body was gone, his spirit lived on. In every child who dreamed of peace, in every mother who held her child close, in every fighter who chose mercy over cruelty, the mother lived long enough to see hope return to her people. She saw her daughter grow into a leader, a voice of strength, carrying the memory of the soldier into every battle and every council. And when her time came, she smiled with peace, because she knew the story would outlive her. It would outlive them all. In the end, the soldier had given more than his life. He had given them belief. Belief that even in the darkest war, a light could burn. Belief that enemies could become protectors. Belief that one act of courage could change the fate of worlds. And so the story ended, not with death, but with legacy. A legacy written not in stone or blood, but in memory. The memory of a human who stood between hate and innocence. A human who made the choice to protect. A human who became more than a soldier. He became a legend.